So from example 1, we notice that b squared minus 4ac, after we simplified it, the value is 1, which is a perfect square, a positive perfect square number. And from that, we also know that we have two real number solutions at the end. Two real number rational solutions at the end. In example 2, b squared minus 4ac, if you take a look at it, right, it is a positive number, but however, it is non-perfect square number. And that gave us two real but irrational solutions. So there is two more cases that I don't want to give you an example, but I will just base off on this two example, we're gonna draw the conclusions. So this b squared minus 4ac in the quadratic formula is called the discriminant. And by testing the discriminant value, we will be able to determine the number and the type of the solution. Okay. So if so far we see two examples, right? If the value of the discriminant is a positive and a perfect square, then we will get two solutions, and those solutions are a real number rational solution. If the value of discriminant is non-perfect square number, like in example 2, we will get again two solutions, but however, this will be a real irrational solution, meaning that you're gonna get a decimal number that never ends. And the other two cases that we didn't see is the discriminant value is 0. So if you have under the square root, if you only have 0, then you're left with only one solution. And that solution is a real rational solution. And lastly, the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac, is a negative value. And we know that under the square root, if it is a negative, it will be a complex number, and we will get two complex solutions. So this discriminant value will help us to predict the solutions of the quadratic equations. So let's take a look at on this example. Determine the numbers and type of solutions of this quadratic equation. So the question does not ask you to solve for it. It just asks you to determine. So what I will do is using the discriminant to figure it out. So the discriminant will be b squared minus 4 times a times c. We are looking for that value. That is, my b will be negative 2 square minus 4 times my a will be 4 and my c will be 8. So if I use the calculator to compute or by hand, this will give me a negative number for sure, right? So it will be 4 minus 4 times 4 is 16, right? 16 times 8, that is equal to 128. So the value of the discriminant will be negative 124, which is we got a negative value. So that tells me this equation, before I even solving it, this equation will have two complex solutions, right? We will have two complex solutions. So this is basically using this discriminant to figure out the number and the type of solution. So pause it and try the next example, see what you get. Okay. So the discriminant value is b squared minus 4 times a, c. My b in this case is negative 6 to the second power minus 4 times my a is 9, my c is 1, which gave us 36 minus 36, which is equal to 0. If the value of the discriminant is 0, then we know that it will be one real rational solution. So in summary, the strategy of solving quadratic equations using appropriate methods is this. First, we will always try to figure out, can the quadratic equations using square root property to solve or not. That is, to find out, can I isolate the square term alone on one side and then a number on the other side? If I can, it's done. If the square root property is not applicable, then you have choices. And the choice that we're going to make is always checking, can I solve by factoring methods? Okay, because when you factor it out, you can use a zero factor property to solve it. If the quadratic equation is not factorable, then we will use quadratic formula to solve it. Completing the square method should be the last choice because it is longer process. Okay. So on the test, read the questions carefully. Do I ask for a specific method or not? If it is not, you're going to use this strategy to solve the quadratic equations. This concludes the session.